You know, this is the cleanest and nicest police car I've ever been in my life. This thing's nicer than my apartment.
Computer, I want you to shut down all the lens flare generators.
Lens flare generators deactivated.
Fascinating.
That's better.
I was unaware that we had that.
It's nice, right? I mean, who designs a starship where lights shine right in your eyes from virtually every angle?
Sweet and low? No. This is not sweet and low, this is equal. Blue packet. Sweet and low is pink. See? Equal blue, sweet and low pink. Not.
Aha!
Darth Vader, only you could be so bold. The Imperial Senate will not sit still for this. When they hear you've attacked a diplomatic...
I know you have been inconvenienced, and I'm prepared to compensate you. Shall we say 1 million American dollars? Very well then, 2 million.
I'll do it for $2 million.
Will you?
Sure.
I'll take what I can get. Free stuff is always welcome.
Because you're cheap and you're...
I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs. See, after a couple of weeks, we kick into it.
Oh, the banter.
See,
just in time to not do a show next Monday.
Exactly right. That's where I was going.
Sorry. I'll be away.
That's how attuned we are.
We are... I'm not so good with the hand job.
We should probably shut up because we got a whole mess of stuff to talk about.
47 movies to talk about?
Yeah, I think so.
So should we just dig right in?
Yeah, I would, yes.
Do you want me to dig in or do you want to dig in?
It's up to you.
Okay, well, if I may.
Okay.
Because, oh no, well, that means I'll talk about that other one too. Okay, fine. So, who are you going to call when it's the late 70s in LA and somebody's missing and there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of fisticuffs and a lot of glitz and glam and sauciness and all that stuff? Well, buddy, friend, Uncle Charlie, and Sister Deloise, you want to call the nice guys.
Chicken wings and chicken wings too! Give me a wave if you like catfish. Jump up if it's your favorite dish.
Okay,
yes.
So 3 movies came out this weekend.
Yes, they did.
2 of which I was almost angry about having to see, and 1 of which I was hopeful for.
One of which I was going to be angry to see, and the other 2, we'll figure out which one they are. I was thinking I was kind of almost going to enjoy them, so we'll figure out. This was one of the latter. One of the
hopeful. This is the only movie this weekend that gave me any hope for life. And it's rare that I see trailers that excite me. I've learned, because we have to see everything, I've learned to not get excited about anything, because you're almost always disappointed. But this was one I was excited for.
Okay.
And I loved this movie. Oh my God, I loved this movie. I'm gonna front load this. Best movie of the year for me.
Okay.
And this is gonna be hard to beat. This was really, really funny. Like throughout, from pretty close to the opening of this movie, I was laughing out loud. My face hurt from laughing so much, and throat hurt from laughing so much during this movie. It's gorgeously shot. It's set in 1977. People who may have lived through that era might pick out a few things and a few phrases here that kind of stand out as not being from 1977, but I'm not going to quibble on that. Nudity within the first 2 minutes of the movie, which we don't get anymore.
Right.
Let me say this to know how unusual this is. Female nudity. And Ryan Gosling keeps his shirt on. Sorry, ladies. And brutal violence, hot cars, good action, good stunt work, a plot. It's sort of a neo-noir film. It's a detective plot. Gosling is hired by this woman to find this girl, and Russell Crowe is hired by some other entity, by the girl herself, to make Gosling stop following her. And it becomes this layers of an onion, bigger and bigger and really big plot and conspiracy and all kinds of stuff. And it's seedy LA in the 70s. The interiors are gorgeous. The clothes are funky. Nice, pretty colors. Great soundtrack. I mean, the score is like a nice retro score. And then the soundtrack is filled with period hits. And it's so well done. So it's so well written, so well shot, acted, directed, written by Shane Black, who gave us Predator and many, many other things over the years. I cannot say enough good things about this movie. It is going to fail miserably because it's a movie that's not made by and for idiots.
Right.
It doesn't just wallow in filth and stupidity. I mean, there's filth in this movie. That's what makes it great. It doesn't wallow in stupid filth like some other things we're going to talk about. And so thus it's making hardly any money and we'll probably never see another sequel. I would really love, the first thing I said when this ended is I turned around to a friend of mine behind me and said, so can we get one of these a year for the next 4 years? Could we please see the continuing adventures of these guys? They work so well together. It's a buddy cop movie, kind of, but it's not as tired and lame as all the buddy cop movies we see like Ride Along that just feel like a bad imitation of better stuff from years past. There's a kid in it that's great and is not cloying and boring and annoying and stupid and cutesy like you usually get. I would see this again today. I saw this yesterday. I would see this again almost immediately. This is a rare movie where partway through I'm like, I'm going to buy that soundtrack tomorrow, and I can't wait for this to come out on Blu-ray. I can't say enough good things about The Nice Guys. I wish people would go out and support this movie and movies like it so that we get more movies like this and not more movies like the next two we're going to talk about.
Oh, that would be nice, yeah.
So what did you think of The Nice Guys?
Okay, well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this on video when it comes out because while I liked it and appreciated it, I didn't like it. I was constantly thinking I should be liking this more. It didn't connect with me. Script extremely clever. The two of them work really well. They've got a male chemistry as the good cop, bad cop, or buddies, or whatever you might want to call it. And so I really enjoyed them. It's got some nudity in it. You mentioned that Gosling keeps his shirt on. Fortunately, Crowe keeps his shirt on too. Thank God.
Not his pants, funny enough.
Boy, has he let himself go if that's really him. But that's part of the character, quite obviously. I found it to be slow. You know, it didn't, and that's probably its smart script writing because it doesn't beat you over the head with jokes or look how funny this situation is. You really have to be watching it to get it. I think I was a little bit withdrawn on it. I found the girl who was Gosling's daughter annoying.
Really?
Because I found her to be a plot device that they worked in kind of forcefully for me. If they do a sequel, and I really do hope they do, I hope she's out of it and it's just the two of them. I found her to be, again, a plot device to advance more issues going on and for them to find ways to, Gosling in particular, oh, you need to find something out about the investigation that you're doing, and she helps it. So she kind of, she's very good. But she kind of, the film surprised me quite a bit. A couple of characters die that I really didn't expect to die.
The two leads, funny enough.
Oh, imagine that. So much for a sequel.
Yeah.
But no, I can accept everything that you say, and constantly was thinking I should be appreciating it that way. I liked it 2/3 as much as you did.
Now,
and will definitely recommend it.
One of the things that was interesting about the female character, the little girl, 13 years old, I think she's supposed to be. At one point, you see someone in her bedroom, and you can see her bookshelf. You can see her shelving unit.
Right.
Out of focus, and I just looked up and I'm like, oh, enjoying the red period set design, and I could see a series of the Nancy Drew and/or Hardy Boys books on her shelf.
That's interesting.
And later I realized that's what this girl is.
That's funny.
She is like the junior detective, you know, trying to be like her old man, which was kind of funny that they put that little, fairly subtle little reference in there. It's not like she's holding the cover and it's
I
like,
need to pick that up for my students when they're practicing art direction
it's
because
just, it's some, even
you know the art director's sitting around and he's looking at the script and saying, "What can I do?" Well, I'll do that, and that's his or her little contribution.
I thought that was cool.
That's great. Yeah.
And the plot, I could see where if you weren't into the movie, it might be dull because it's not overtly long, but it takes its time, which I liked because it's more time with the characters and the places and the people. I liked that the plot was clever-ish, and it wasn't the kind of thing where I figured things out way before the characters and was just waiting for them to catch up with me. And it went in areas that I didn't expect. It reminded me of Chinatown in a way. Some of the overt themes. I'm sure it was an inspiration because something is said toward the end of the movie and earlier in the movie about how these things play out in this game that they're in. That kind of made me think of, forget it, shake it, Chinatown kind of thing. Anyway, that was The Nice Guys, and we'll be nice guys about the next two movies. Will we?
We'll have to find out because on one of them, you're on a lovely deserted island or desert island, and it's just beautiful and everything's wonderful. And then all of a sudden, these green porcine kind of creatures come in and ruin your life. What are you going to do? You're going to have a few angry birds. So that's pretty much what you get.
That was an appropriate piece of music they used at the end there.
Yep.
Boy, don't have a trailer and end the trailer with somebody singing "I'm bad, I'm bad."
You have to have You have to have a song at the end that summarizes the movie. This was certainly. I enjoyed the animation. I was worried about what kind of animation was it going to be and everything like that. But there were so many things for me, and I'm the wrong audience for this, although I love the game. Oh yeah. There are so many things stacked up against it. The very first is just its concept. Really? A feature-length film about a telephone video game?
That had its peak how many years ago?
Yeah, right. And
this movie's like
well, so the next
or more
one will
years
be
too
the
late.
Star Wars Angry Birds movie, and then, you know, however many other iterations of the game they had.
There is, in the works, a Tetris movie. Just saying.
Fascinating.
Just saying.
Fascinating.
It's going to be great. Well, they made a Battleship movie,
yeah,
which was awful, so hey.
So anyway, this, you saw a couple of references. First of all, eagles urinating, grand eagles urinating. I just think that's hilarious. And lots of...
You know what The Wizard of Oz was missing? You know why The Wizard of Oz has been forgotten?
There weren't any poo jokes.
Nope, you never saw the Cowardly Lion just squat and take a big old
That's
steamer.
a big old dump
you know?
on
Had
the
that
witch.
happened, people would be talking about that film today.
Today, they'd be you'd pee on the witch, and that would
Well,
be
you
what
have
would
to.
Yeah, that would. Oh no. So yeah, it was just all. I mean, it's so clearly aimed at kids. So, can I necessarily blame the movie? I suppose I should, and we should. But you know, kids can appreciate other things, better things. And so to stoop to that level, and I just thought I found very little redeeming about Angry Birds, and I wasn't angry about it, but I was birdish about it.
What?
Anyway.
Yeah. So I wasn't looking forward to it.
No.
But a lot of times I don't usually look forward to kids' movies, and more often than not, I walk out being pleased or impressed with them, which is nice.
Okay.
Not so much with this one. This is like, you know, what more can you expect out of a film based on a game on your phone that's about flinging objects and knocking other objects over? I don't know. This is about what you'd expect. If somebody explained that they were going to make an Angry Birds movie, I would probably say it's like this, where they establish that one bird is really angry and another does what each of the things in the game do, and then at some point they fling themselves at buildings and they fall over. It's pretty stupid. It's for little kids. It's not really for grown-ups. They try to make references. It's the laziest kind of writing.
I'm thinking 5-year-old, don't you?
Little kids.
Yeah.
Tykes, toddlers. I mean, there's a Shining reference that's, I guess, amusing, but it's the kind of thing that you laugh because you get the reference, not because it's clever.
Right.
And they use, in the trailer they do this too, they use a lot of top hits from the 70s and 80s for like, 10 seconds. And they're re-recordings, which bugs me a little bit too. But it's just like, it's cheap and cheesy, and it's a shortcut to emotions and understanding to play a little bit of, I don't even know if they used the foreigner in the movie or not, but the stuff they used, it annoyed me because it's a technique I don't like. Visually, it's pretty colors, well rendered when you get to the world that the pigs create based on what the things look like in the comic, in the game, based on the candy bar, whatever is next. It's clever and interesting, but it really just feels like the feature length, whatever you call it, cutscene before you get into the game. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It feels like this really shouldn't exist. This is like the awful Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s that were just commercials for toys, like the Gummy Bears cartoon and stuff like that, dumb stuff like that. And the grossness just makes me mad. Yeah. Like, there's a reference to two birds are doing something in the water that I took as a very crude sexual reference that was not as sly as they thought it was. And then it's an eagle peeing for a really long time, and you see the stream and all that, and that's great. And then there's something with snot, and it's just like, that's just gross. And you can say, well, kids find that funny. Well, yeah. Well, so what? Some people find racist jokes funny. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean you should give people that. So it's just, this is garbage. Don't go see garbage. Go see Jungle Book again. And it ain't much better, but it's better, Go see Nice Guys. Take your kids to see Nice Guys. They'll know what extreme violence and hot cars and naked women look like. At least that's an educational movie. I'm just trying to make money for that movie. Sorry, I sort of derailed.
Nope.
So, any other thoughts on Angry Birds?
Not on Angry Birds, thank you very much.
Okay.
I have a lot to say about the next one.
Do you now?
Yes.
Should I introduce it with great alacrity?
Please.
If you know what alacrity means, it's movies at Cheshire TV. Yeah, it's very debaucherous according to my notes here. That's true too. So, a couple have a house that they're trying to sell, and they've just managed to get the evil frat house away from their home, and they have peace and quiet once again. And then a sorority moves in, and all they want to do is powtay. And these people, well, what do you know? It's a sequel, and once again, they have a problem with their neighbors too.
Coffee. Coming right up.
Oh, and 2 bags of those peculiar white coffee material.
So I absolutely despise the first one of these.
Yeah.
I just thought it was debaucherous. I thought it was just vile and lowbrow humor, even more stupidly lowbrow than like Angry Birds stuff. And it's so stupidly formulaic. I mean, we've seen loads of great movies. Animal House as an example. Does it hold up today? Maybe not quite so much, but it was at least had some plot and was fairly clever, and we had some characters and blah, blah, blah. Neighbors was just Rogan and his group of idiots. He should work for Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff that, in particular, I think was like they advertised one of his next films from the producers or the filmmakers who brought you "This Is the End."
That's all you need to hear.
And as I recall that, because I just hated that, these movies feel so much like Rogan and a bunch of his buddies get together and for a weekend, and they figure, let's just make a movie, and they make a movie in a weekend, and whatever they get, they cut together. For some strange reason, I was looking forward to Neighbors 2. I kind of like Zac Efron occasionally. I don't know why. I've got to go back and take a look at why I still hold him in sort of like he might be funny. But I was thinking, how unique. This might be fun to take his character and then make him exactly the opposite of what he was. Well, no, for 2/3 of the movie, he's exactly the same character, working with the sorority girls so that they can do the same horrible things. This is so much the exact same movie as it was before. And then what we do is we have all these girls who just want to party and be footloose and fancy free and are just vile and banal for 95% of the film. And then, like there's a coin flip or something, and it's like for the last 5 minutes, like, oh no, wait, we're all friends. We need to grow up, and then the movie's over.
It's the end of the Brady Bunch when Mike Brady was going to tell his
Right.
kid a lesson, and it went.
Yeah, right.
You know, Bob.
This was just. I was struck about 2/3 of the way through, sitting there thinking, how can you make a movie that is so unfunny? You've got some potential, and this is just absolutely unfunny. I laughed once. Oh, and it was because one of the girls, after they had this whole huge party and were just like they missed all their grades and got Fs on everything, but they'd partied. She says, "This is the most fun she's had since space camp." And my son's going to space camp, so I laughed at space camp. It was just completely because it relates to me. It was the least funny movie I've seen in many years, and it is absolutely now. Well, strange that we have tops of lists on one show. This is at the very top of my list for worst movie of the year.
Woo! Ooh, baby.
So there.
It's a weekend of superlatives.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it a superlative when it's the worst?
Superlatively bad.
It's top of your list.
Yes.
So when they released this on video and they pulled your quote from this episode because they watch us.
Top of my list.
Top of my list, says Tom Cook. So I hated the original. I was really angry about having to see this one. I hated it. I was ready to walk out in the first moments of this movie. It opens up with a nude from the waist down, Seth Rogen in bed being straddled by his fully clothed wife. And then she starts retching and she throws up in his face. It isn't that hilarious that he's got puke all over his face and in his mouth. That's brilliant. This is how they lead with that. And then the next shot is their little toddler daughter, who in the first film had a used condom in her mouth. In this film, she is playing with a vibrator or sexual aid throughout the film. That's a running gag, is a little girl with a pink vibrator.
Yes.
Later on, you see their friends have a child, and he's holding a rubbery and far more realistic one, and it's cute that he plays with that too. This is a movie for idiots. There were two guys in this movie theater that were laughing throughout, and when I walked out behind them, I'm like, they would be the kind of guys to find this funny. It is the humor of knowing laughs that if you're just loaded all the time, I'm sure it's brilliant.
Right.
And if you just find cucky duty and wallowing in your own fluids hilarious, then this is genius. That's my quote. This is genius. It just made me angry because it's like, and I see the Universal logo now, and they used to be like one of the icons of cinema and of Hollywood. They're getting behind the worst, most stupid, garbage comedies in the last few years. I don't know what they got going on. Sadly, these things make money.
Yeah.
People are stupid enough to go and see garbage that basically lowers the national and international comedy level. It sets the bar low. So, geez, well, if I'm hitting that low ceiling, then I'm doing well, right? You're hitting some kind of ceiling there, but I'm not sure what it is. So these make me angry because I think of the comedies that I watched growing up, and I'm talking about from the 1920s to the 1990s, and there was a lot of really great stuff. And I see so damn few movies that I think are worth anything anymore that are comedies. And most of them star people that I hate and I want to see die slowly in a car fire. And this was one of them. Nice Guys was such a fresh, refreshing revelation because it was really funny throughout, and I liked the people in it, and I wanted to see more of these people. And it wasn't one of these, like you said, they're reprehensible for 95% of the movie. In the last 5%, they have a heart, but then they look to the camera and wink, I'm still wild. That's every damn movie now. So, and it's a change, as you said, it's a changing the adjectives. In the original script sequel, it's the exact same thing all over again. So many jokes are just the same from the first one. Zac Efron, I think, can be likable, but he's in stupid movies 95% of the time, one of which we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Yep.
And he's a fine figure of a man. I'm straight. He's a fine figure of a man. And I'm happy if the ladies want to go and pay their hard-earned money to sit through the worst garbage in the world to see him with his shirt off, because it's pretty much guaranteed.
Right.
But dear God, man, be in the Aquaman movie or something.
There you go. Right.
So anyway, I hated Neighbors 2. I hope nobody goes to see it anymore, and I hope everybody goes to see The Nice Guys instead.
There we go.
So,
just keep pushing it.
So we thank Keene Cinemas for providing us with these films this week. It's not their fault they don't make them. They show what people are going to go see, and unfortunately, a lot of stupid people see a lot of stupid crap.
Fortunately for them.
Fortunately for them, because we want to
Unfortunately for the national intelligence average. Yes.
Up next, we present to you that which you can see via the home video method of your choice, viewable on the device of your choice and format of your choice, and not always by our choice. We have the next film to talk about, which is...
That's right. Well, Zac Efron is back. It's been a while since you've seen him, and seen all of him at least, and you don't get to see quite... Well, you do get to see pretty much all of him in this one as well. So he's getting married, and as he's prepping for all of his marital bliss, he's got to take one of his parents' fathers. I'm going to try to dance around the title here.
Don't say the title.
One of his parents' fathers, who is a crotchety old army colonel and doesn't take no stuff for an answer. He's got to take him down to Florida for spring break. Well, it's going to be a long road if you have to ride all the way down there with the dirty grandpa.
So, speaking of fine, uplifting, intelligent comedies...
Zac is back, and his backside, and his front side, and everything like that. This is... De Niro... About 10 years ago, De Niro started kind of a resurgence of his career, particularly with comedy, and he's good with it in the right ones. Of course, I can't say a resurgence, because what was the one he did with Charles Grodin?
Midnight Run.
Midnight Run. Brilliant film. Very funny. But so now he's just the crotchety old guy all the time. And this is one, once again, that it feels like... I'm surprised Seth Rogen didn't produce or direct this. It's going to be Bash Seth Rogen month, hopefully.
Until he stops this scourge,
once
we
again,
will keep bashing
That's
Seth
right.
Rogen.
Like something that they just got out on a weekend and shot, because you just follow these two guys, and it's just every opportunity for De Niro to ogle women. Not that you see anything. See, I guess this breaks convention because...
No. See, that would be untoward.
Right. Well, that's right. That wouldn't be politically correct.
We need to see, I mean, legally, we need to see as much of Zac Efron.
Exactly.
He's basically nude except for his hands in front of his area.
His hands, exactly.
Legally, we need that. But to show any female skin...
Right.
That's inappropriate.
So, I mean, if you're waiting for anything, for want of a better term, redemptive about this, at least you might think, oh, so they're going to start off button heads and everything like that, but then it'll be, oh, Grandpa, I love you, and stuff like that. And not even that really comes across successfully. This is one where I think you take... I don't know why they cast this way or why this was even made, but the feeling I got is take a really young, hot sex symbol these days and take somebody of notoriety from the older days and put them together, and maybe people will be stupid enough as they're walking by the theaters and Captain America is sold out that they'll go see this. I don't know. I found this completely... I'm just in a bad mood today, but completely unredemptive and not worth watching in any venue.
It sounds like we're prudes. And let me tell you, if you could hear the language we use when the cameras are off, we're not prudes. And when I go on about the lack of female nudity, I don't have a problem with naked dudes.
Right.
I'm straight. But it's like, I believe in two-way streets. And these days, it's like so aggressively and unrealistically a one-way street. I'm just like, really, come on, really?
Right.
This was terrible. I walked out of this in the theater because, and again, it was so offensive, not to my tender sensibilities, but I'm just like, really? That's all you got is digging a hole to go lower than you can possibly go? It's just stupid and boring. And the first time we see De Niro, or early on in the movie, Zac Efron walks into his house and De Niro is in his easy chair aggressively interfering with himself. And I'm like, yeah, great, wonderful. And it's just, he's like so aggressively like Tourette's-like in the offensive stuff that he says, none of which is clever. It's supposed to be funny because it's shocking, and it ain't. It's just lame. And it's just moron activity after moron activity. And if you're loaded half the time and you think it's brilliant and everything, I guess if you're loaded half the time, you're half brain dead anyway, so this stuff would be funny.
It's brand new.
Yeah, hey, this is garbage. But ladies, if you want to see a mostly nude Zac Efron, there you go. Speaking of that, speaking of mostly nude, I think somebody might be mostly nude in the next film.
You'll have to find out. And New Hampshireites, keep an eye out, because this feels very close to at least our area. In 1600s, at least New England, you've got a family who is having to deal with lots of goofy, scary little things. Trees coming alive, and certain things that shouldn't be alive coming back to life. There's witchcraft and possession and demonic things happening, and it's all probably because of the witch.
Looking people in the whole world. Potato Head people look different every time you make them.
Oof. So this one has like cult movie, in my opinion, written all over it. Primarily I think because people I've talked to who have seen it either love it or hate it. Either think it's really terrific or find it to be a snoozer. I found this atmospheric, well shot, but very, very slow and kind of overly manipulative in its what seemed to be like forceful attempts to not show anything scary. You know, I'm waiting to see something, and they do it kind of tricky. So it's, you know, are they trying to be Hitchcockian or something like that? And I don't say that in a negative sense. I really think the filmmakers here tried to make a very different, very creepy, atmospheric movie that, unfortunately for me, just didn't connect.
Same here. I'd heard really good things about this. I actually drove to the Alamo Drafthouse Yonkers to see this because I didn't know. It ultimately wound up coming
exclusively to see this, or because there were a bunch of other things showing too?
Whenever I go there, it's 4 hours or so for me, so I try to see a couple things in a day.
Okay.
So that was one of them. And it ultimately came to the Colonial, so I could, if I waited, I would have seen it in town. But anyway, I'd heard good things, and the scenario for me to see this was perfect. It was a huge screen, big theater, great sound, great projection. Nobody was sitting in front of me, so I felt like I was alone in the theater, and the crowd was quiet, and I was just bored.
Yeah.
You know, it is atmospheric, it is well shot. They do a good job of evoking the era. This was actually made by somebody from New Hampshire, our home state here. But I was just bored. All the dialogue is sort of Old English, so it takes a while, if it is successful for you, the individual, to comprehend what people are saying, because they don't let up on that. It's so you're hearing people talk, and then you're immediately trying to reprocess what they just said to put it into your kind of English. So that was tricky. It reminded me in a way of that, I can't remember the title. Remember the movie we reviewed on video? It was a black and white kind of artistic film that was about the early days of Abraham Lincoln in his life.
Yeah,
this almost reminded me of that, where it's really aggressively showing you the rural, desolate lifestyle. Ultimately, things pick up toward the end, but by that point, I just didn't care. It's very artsy. I wouldn't. This is an art house movie that is a horror movie as well, not a horror movie with art house pretensions, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was really boring, but I know people who thought it was really good. So your mileage may vary. I would say if you pick this up, expect a very artistic, not Hollywood presentation of witchery and horrors and whatnot. But the witch.
There's no pea soup and heads turning around in anything like this.
There's a lot of agrarian lifestyle.
Klaatu, Barada, Niktos, or anything happening.
Whole lot of woods going on in this movie. Speaking of films that give you wood, I have a film. Because when you get the film, it comes in a wooden box.
There you go.
Here we have a new Blu-ray from our friends at Wellgo USA, who are folks who do a lot of Asian cinema and presenting Asian cinema in this country. And it is the early years of Chinese legend Wong Fei-hung, and he is a young, hard scrabble kind of youth with fisticuffs and long hair and clothes. And this is the worst introduction I've ever done for a movie I actually quite liked, entitled Rise of the Legend.
Switch on, press talk button, and you broadcast from room to room.
So, I apologize for that intro. I had a small stroke, but I'm much better now. So, this is a Chinese legend, actual historical character who has become legend. Jet Li starred in a bunch of movies about him in the 90s, and it's really good. I thought it was really good. I like Fu films, and lately I'm a little disappointed they are adopting Hollywood style in how they present fights, where it's terribly shot and bad camera work and bad effects and editing. And there's a touch of that here and there, but mostly it's presented really well. There was fight choreography that made me giggle and rewind it because it was so amusing and brutal. There's body fu at one point. He picks up a guy who's trying to attack him when he's surrounded by attackers, and he basically swings the guy around and knocks people out, then throws the guy in front of him through a window to cushion his fall through multiple awnings, and then walks away from the guy, who may or may not be dead. It's really good. It's 132 minutes, so I was a little nervous when I saw that it was that long. I'm like, a martial arts movie that long, it's not unusual, but I like my movies shorter. I was never bored. The basic plot line, you see him as a kid, and his father was a respected doctor, and these evil, bad gangs that controlled that part of China at the time do something really bad to his family. Okay. So basically what the story here is, he devotes his life from when he's a child up into his teens or 20s to get hired by this gang and work his way up the ranks as high as he can so they can then decimate it from within. And when you realize that in the movie, you're like, ooh, this is good. And there are warring gangs and groups of people, and it's about a time in China where the gang sort of controlled everything, and he led a revolution to take back the land to the good people. So it's gorgeously shot. It's epically shot. Some of it is CG enhanced, like some of the shots in the trailer where you see the bay and the ships and everything like that. Gorgeous sets, really huge sets. The effects are really good. Hong Kong used to be a bit behind us, or China used to be a bit behind us in CGI, so it was kind of a downer when they were using effects that they weren't quite there yet. But there's a scene where this building is engulfed in flames, and there's a fight scene in it, and it looks real enough for me to not be distracted by what the CGI flames look like. You have Sammo Hung, who is a huge star in martial arts films. He was in Enter the Dragon, worked his way up to be side by side with Jackie Chan in the 80s and 90s. He's still in it. He can still do enough with help from wires and doubles and things like that to be believable. I really enjoyed Rise of the Legend. I think if you like martial arts films, if you like 80s, 90s martial arts films, this stands pretty solidly up with those. And we're giving these discs to review. Right. I usually will give them away to friends or get rid of them one way or another. This is one I'm keeping. So whatever that means to anybody, I thought it was that good.
Well, good.
Speaking of
films that we're given to review, yet another one from Mr. Nelson and all of his wonderful contacts. If you're an old guy and you've got a big old castle, it's a draw. You want to bring people in and show everybody all of the old places that are hanging out. Well, be careful if you happen to be of the female persuasion and you're invited up there, particularly if it's the night Evelyn came out of the grave.
Fun is doing something useful around the house.
Hi.
Sorry.
Yep.
Talking about other things.
They'll never
we were
know.
actually talking about the movie. But
we actually were.
Yes.
They'll never know.
Other things too.
So, what did you think of Arrow Video's presentation of the night Evelyn came out of the grave?
One of the things I have to enjoy about a lot of these things, is, for want of a better term, these retro things that we get is my thinking back to, when I was at the Shadeland Drive-In or seeing these things in the 70s and how creepy some of these Hammer films were. And so it's fun, first of all, again, getting good transfers because in my mind, they're scratchy and probably just because of the prints that we got there. That's what 70s drive-in type movies were like. And these things are like, where did these come from? Holy cow, they look really good. It's a fun throwback to also see. You do get, what would we rate this? I still think this should be rated PG-13. I don't recall.
Hard to say. There's a bit of nudity,
right?
And a little violence.
Right.
A soft R or a hard PG-13?
Yeah, a hard PG-13. I would think more something like that. So it's fun to see these back. I thought this started out a little bit slowly, but similar, not similar to The Witch, but as a similar comment to The Witch. I thought it had some fun atmosphere to it. Performances overall were pretty good. As one of those throwbacks, I thought this was pretty enjoyable.
It's one of those things where, so it's, I like to say, it's Arrow Video, so you know it's going to be gorgeous. You have your choice of watching it in English or Italian language. Italian, you'll have subtitles. English, you don't. And I chose to watch it in English because that's how I've seen most of these movies.
Right.
That comes with its own baggage because if the voice acting is a little over dramatic, it makes it seem like the acting is bad in the movie.
Right.
Because that's the performance that you're hearing. So for the most part, the dubbing is pretty good in this, and I love the music in these movies, the old giallo soundtracks, and the location is gorgeous.
Yeah.
This huge old estate. That's so much of it for me, and the way it's shot. And the fashion, and it's that early 70s Euro look that is so unique. It's almost like it's like futuristic in some way, or outer space. It's like a whole other world. So
Right.
I like that about it. So basically, the plot is you have this guy who's crazy, who has some beef with his ex-wife who's dead, that he may or may not have been responsible for, and he takes these women to his house, and they all have red hair like his wife did.
Right.
And at some point, the little games they're playing get a little saucy, a little dark, and the guy thinks he finds true love, and he's put that behind him. But then his, we believe, dead wife keeps showing up or calling to him from the crypt.
Right.
The titular night Evelyn came out of the grave, and things just get a little crazy. He goes a bit mad sometimes. So it's interesting because it's like, is he really crazy? Is this supernatural? Is somebody trying to drive him crazy? What's the deal? And I thought it was a lot of fun. I'd seen this before years ago, and it was fun to see again. I didn't remember much about it. And
Did this in theaters or on video?
on
or?
video. This
Okay.
had a previous DVD release in the earlier 2000s, I believe, or late 90s. This obviously looks and sounds a lot better than that one did. And you have the usual extras where you have like a half-hour interview with the writer or one of the stars, a making of that's a half-hour alternate opening of the film. I mean, there's a lot of goodies on this. So I think if you're a fan of giallo films, I would recommend The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. This is part of a 2-pack that Arrow has out. It's this and the next movie.
Right.
And from the same director, same production team, actually. As both some of the same actors.
A lot of
some
similar
of the same
thing.
character names between the two movies, which we'll discuss. But I think even if you previously bought this and liked this movie, it is totally worth rebuying this disc because this is a much better package than you had before and a new, better transfer.
Now, where is Arrow? Do you know where Arrow is based?
Arrow is based in England.
Okay, so they are. So are they all of these extras that you keep referring to and I keep forgetting that are available, and I would have wished I would have seen them because then I turned the disc back over to you. Are they producing these for this distribution, or is this stuff that they found?
It's a combination. Usually, it's funny. Arrow UK is the mothership, so to speak. They have a branch in the US. The movies they release in the UK, they don't necessarily release here, all of the same because of rights issues. So like the Pam Grier movies, they put out a couple here, but the other ones they put out in England, somebody else owns the rights to here, so that it's not all the same stuff. Anything that's Euro-based, they're producing those extras over there. There are crews in the U.S. that are producing extras. A guy who owns a guy who hosts some of the screenings I go to at the Yonkers Draft House is on some of these Arrow U.S. extras.
Really? Okay.
Some of the extras on this set are actually ported over from a previous DVD release in the 90s. The No Shame Company put some stuff out. They call them archival extras. And they're like standard def, and they don't look anywhere near as good as the new stuff. So
they have no shame. So.
Exactly. Usually they're producing new content for extras. Occasionally they're getting other stuff that's previously been done. Which is a nice effort for them to go and try to get
they seem
extra
to
things.
Go to no end. Somebody in Arrow really loves these movies. Because they go to no end to make them look great.
I love this company. They're relatively new in terms of having a U.S. presence, but I mean, I haven't liked everything that they've given us to watch, but I get excited when a new Arrow disc shows up.
Well, they certainly have a Keene, New Hampshire presence, don't they?
They do. They do. Actually, you can, I'm not touting for anybody, but you actually can buy Arrow discs at Bull Moose, which I think is fantastic.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
That you can, on a retail shelf, you could buy the movie I'm about to introduce.
Which is?
The next film, also by the same creative team as The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. I don't know. I can't start it with a question. Sorry, running out of steam. It's getting kind of hot in here. It's approaching summertime. So here's another Italian giallo film from the same group who brought you the previous film we discussed. A woman has a sister who's dead, or is she? And is she nice, quiet dead, or is she? Oh boy, is it a he? Who knows? Sorry, it's getting warm in here. The film is entitled "The Red Queen Kills 7 Times."
This rabbit reacts calmly to petting and tapping.
Now, there is dialogue.
Yes,
but
that was an odd trailer. That was a condensed version of the movie. I like this one a lot better of the two that we're talking about in this collection. You have Barbara Boucher, who's really nice to look at, has an interesting, expressive face, and some of the same cast. And what's funny is that this is about a woman named Evelyn who is killed, and then she starts popping up again, and they're wondering if Evelyn's really dead.
Right.
And I'm like, I was having a brain spasm. I'm like, is this Evelyn came?
I think I watched them in the wrong order. I watched this second.
You could easily have called this the night Evelyn came out of the grave. So basically the idea is there's this woman in this flowing robe who looks like this woman's dead sister who's killing people. And you're trying to figure out again, is she back from the grave? Was she never really dead? Is it somebody else trying to drive her crazy? It's a really good giallo mystery. I was like, I'm not going to say edge of my seat, but I was really interested in where's this going to go. And really nice set pieces. Again, the really interesting futuristic looking decor and clothing and great Bruno Nicolai soundtrack. I was really into this movie a lot. It was just the right length, looked gorgeous. And again, the Arrow extras were voluminous, and you had the extras that were ported over from the old No Shame release. So I would say if you like it and you bought it before, it's worth buying again for the upgrade. Yeah, the Red Queen kills 7 times. I'd never seen it until yesterday, and I liked it a lot.
I find because I started this was the second one of the 2 that I watched. I watched Evelyn first. And so I was a bit taken aback until I really realized, oh wait, these are the same people, these are the same filmmakers. And so I felt like I was missing something, and I really wanted to go grab those extras to figure out, you know, what's the in-joke or something like that. Of the 2, I thought this one looked a little bit better, just like they had their better game going. Yeah. Production design, performance, everything like that. So yeah, while I enjoyed them both, I think of the 2, I thought the Red Queen was the better of the 2.
Cool. So that's all we have to discuss this week. We will be back in 2 weeks talking about the new X-Men movie and the new Alice in Wonderland movie and whatever else is foisted upon us and you, the viewing public. Until then, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs.